Hi, I'm Pantazi. Today I'm here at the Mansfield Dojos. The guys have let me use the dojo space. I'm training someone privately from overseas. He came in for a couple months of training here. So in the beginning, before the lessons, I wanted to come on and make an interesting video for you. Now, we've talked about the 6G hands, we've talked about tools, the targets, the trajectories. And I just wanted to get on here and break down some targets and some specific tools, the G hands in particular, and how to apply them. Now, I'm using this dummy here. It's called a Bob dummy here in the US. I don't know what it's called worldwide. Call it what you will. It's got the facial features, and a lot of people have these in their training dojos, or they bought them for their home. And if you bought them for the home to practice on during this past year or so, then you have an excellent training tool. I love this thing. I like the Mook Chun better, I'll be honest with you, because it's solid and it trains your knuckles. It conditions your hands at the same time, and you can go into many grabbing techniques as you can here on this one as well. I just like to feel the solid wood much more. It's like hitting bone. And if you condition your hands to feel the reverberation in the wood when you strike the wooden dummy, then you get that feel, that electrical feeling in between you and an opponent or training partner, as it would be. So we're going to go over the 6G hands, and I'm going to give you some particular targets that I like to use. Now, I don't use pressure points. Number one, as you probably well know by now, I like to use the anatomical structures, the nerves, the blood vessels, muscle spindle cells, Golgi tendon, bodies, organs, things of this nature. And I like to affect the somatic nervous system or the autonomic nervous system or other functions and physiologies of the human body. And all of these targets that I'll be listing, I'm not going to give you all the nerve names. I'll give you a couple here and there. But I'm not going to give you the nerve names because it's not the important part unless you really want to get into the anatomical study. To defend yourself, to use these properly, all you need to do is use the proper tools, targets, and trajectories. Again, those are the three main keys, and they're all found in the Bubishi, many different other texts, katas, martial arts styles. You can find them everywhere. We were just not privy enough to understand what we were being shown because we were missing the key components of the tools, the targets, and the trajectories. So this is my mission in life, is to expose them, to give you something to feed yourself for the rest of your life in your personal training, as well as future generations if you so choose to share them with other individuals. And that's why we do the study groups as well with Kyusho International, is because we're trying to spread this information out and get it worldwide. And that's the way that these groups spur on, because you need to get hands-on training to get better at these. It's not just knowing it in your head. It has to be in your hands. So without further ado, let's get into the techniques. First hand I'm going to be using is the iron bone hand. Now in the Bubishi, it's shown with a straight thumb. The fingers are flayed out. Now the iron bone, excuse me, you're going to understand has to be the strongest bone in the body, because at the time that these manuals were written, iron was the strongest component. Now, what would comprise an iron bone hand or iron bone? It's not one of these small metacarpals. They would break easy. These little digits in here, they're going to break easy as well, or dislocate at the joint. So what is the iron bone? Well, the iron bone is this big expansive bone in the hand. It's the largest and strongest and thickest bone in the human hand. Now, it's shown like this because that bone here, not this first one that many karate styles like to perpetuate, it's this bone right here, has to be struck in two different directions. It can be struck in a third, but you risk damage to yourself. As example, if I strike this way with this hand and I strike like a ridge hand type of a motion, I could stretch the tendons, muscles, ligaments, whatever's involved in this area of the hand, and I could damage myself. This is not what what the hand was meant to do. It was meant to incapacitate or kill the opponent. So you have to hit it. Now the fingers flayed out means that the emphasis was not on the fingers like a nukete, okay? You would keep your fingers together so they wouldn't get damaged or broken individually. So that had to be the weapon. So you have to look at everything analytically, not what's written, not what's said, because we don't understand what was meant by the writings of an ancient generation that, first of all, the dialect or the language is pretty well dissipated or extinct, and you can't understand the meaning of what that individual meant by that hand. So we have to look at the position that they drew, because that's what they were just depicting what they had, and then that's how we ascertain our information. All right, now the fingers are flayed out because that's not the striking surface, and it was meant as a striking action with this bone, and it can travel in two directions for safety of yourself as well as incapacitation of the opponent. First, we can hit straight on into the bone. Very solid bone. I use it again on the mukjun with no problem. I've hit many, I'd say thousands of people with this technique in the head and neck area, body area, leg area, and it has not been damaged because it's a very strong tool. Okay, the other way you can do it is hitting downward, like you're slapping down, okay? And I'll show you a couple of those techniques on the dummy here in a second. Now, that's okay, and it's a little annoying in the beginning when you first start your practice, especially if you're hitting a wooden dummy, because the nerves run right along the side of the digits in here in the iron bone, and it's going to get some used to. You got to get some conditioning on it. You don't have to condition it a lot. You just have to get past the nerve pain in the beginning. Some people are sensitive there, some people are not. Depends on what you do with your hands for work, etc. So let's get into the striking. I'm going to show you several targets to hit with this tool and the 5 other tools as well. But let's get into this one first.